Every day, millions of people pass complete strangers. Most of those encounters are forgotten within seconds. But every once in a while, an ordinary moment changes history. Not inside a palace. Not in a war room. Not on a battlefield. But here, on an ordinary park bench. No secret handshake. No whispered password. No dramatic chase through crowded streets. Just two strangers, sharing a quiet winter morning. To everyone nearby, nothing happened. But hidden inside that newspaper could be the blueprint of a new weapon, the identity of an undercover agent, or a secret powerful enough to change the balance between nations. Because in the invisible world of espionage, the deadliest weapon has never been a missile. It has never been a rifle. It has always been information. When most people hear the word spy, they imagine someone like James Bond. Fast cars, explosions, impossible gadgets, and missions that end with the entire world watching. Hollywood has given us unforgettable heroes. But it has also created one of the biggest myths about espionage. Because the perfect spy isn't the one everyone remembers. It's the one nobody notices. The most successful intelligence operation may never involve a single gunshot. No car chase. No dramatic escape. If everything goes according to plan, no one even realizes a spy was ever there. That ordinary man carrying a briefcase could be more dangerous than an entire army. Because long before a war begins, someone has already been quietly collecting the secrets that decide who wins. If you enjoy documentaries like this, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Real spies rarely look like spies. They don't wear disguises every day. They don't constantly look over their shoulder. And they certainly don't announce who they are. Instead, they become invisible. A respected scientist. A trusted engineer. A diplomat welcomed into foreign capitals. An accountant. A secretary. A government employee. Even a neighbor you've greeted for years. The greatest disguise is an ordinary life. Because when nobody suspects you, nobody watches you. And sometimes, the people with the greatest access to a nation's secrets are the ones everyone trusts the most. History has shown that some of the world's biggest intelligence victories were achieved not by breaking into a building, but by quietly walking through the front door. Very few people wake up one morning planning to become a spy. It usually begins with something much smaller. A conversation, a friendship, a favor. Intelligence agencies don't simply recruit people. They study them. Sometimes for months. Sometimes for years. They learn what someone believes, what they fear, what they dream about, what they're missing. For some, it's money. For others, it's ideology, revenge, recognition, or simply the belief that they're serving a greater cause. The best recruitment doesn't feel like recruitment at all. By the time someone realizes they've crossed the line, it may already be impossible to turn back. In the middle of World War II, the United States built one of the most secret places on Earth. Hidden in the mountains of New Mexico, an entire town appeared almost overnight. Thousands of scientists, engineers, soldiers, and their families lived there, yet many of them didn't fully understand what their neighbors were working on. Mail was censored. Phone calls were restricted. Armed guards watched every entrance. Even the maps revealed almost nothing. Behind those fences, some of the greatest scientific minds in history were racing to build a weapon the world had never seen before. The project was so secret that many believed no foreign nation could possibly learn what was happening inside. They were wrong. Among the brilliant minds working at Los Alamos was a quiet German-born physicist named Klaus Fuchs. He wasn't loud. He wasn't famous. And he certainly didn't look like a spy. To his colleagues, he was simply another scientist helping build a weapon that could end the war. But behind that ordinary appearance, Fuchs was living a second life. As he worked on one of the most closely guarded military projects in history, he was secretly passing nuclear research to the Soviet Union. He never broke into a laboratory. He never stole a safe. He already had access. And that's what made him so dangerous. Sometimes, the greatest threat isn't the person trying to get in. It's the person who's already inside. The question that puzzled investigators wasn't how Klaus Fuchs became a spy. It was why. Years before he arrived at Los Alamos, Fuchs had watched Germany fall under Adolf Hitler's rule. As a young physicist and an outspoken opponent of the Nazis, he fled his homeland and eventually found refuge in Britain. When World War II erupted, he joined the Allied effort to stop Hitler. But as the war continued, another fear began to grow in his mind. What if only one country possessed the atomic bomb? Fuchs believed that no single nation should hold that kind of power alone. Whether history judges that belief as idealism, loyalty to the Soviet Union, or a profound betrayal is still debated. What isn't debated is that one man's decision quietly reshaped the balance of power for decades to come. Real espionage is rarely fast. Most of it is waiting. Waiting for the right moment. The right place. The right person. Professional intelligence officers know that every unnecessary move creates risk. Every conversation can be overheard. Every mistake can leave a trail. That's why the best operations are carefully planned long before anyone steps outside. Sometimes two people may spend an entire day moving through a city without exchanging a single word. Their success depends on one simple rule. Never give anyone a reason to remember you. The perfect operation isn't the one that makes headlines. It's the one nobody realizes ever happened. On August 29, 1949, the Soviet Union successfully detonated its first atomic bomb. For the rest of the world, it came as a shock. Many American officials had believed the Soviet program was still years behind. Instead, the nuclear monopoly had ended far sooner than expected. Historians still debate exactly how much information from spies like Klaus Fuchs accelerated the Soviet program. There is no serious debate, however, that espionage played an important role in helping Soviet scientists understand key aspects of the project. From that moment on, the world entered a new era. An era where two nuclear superpowers watched each other with suspicion. An era defined by deterrence, secrecy, and an invisible war fought as much with intelligence as with armies. And this was only the beginning. The first nuclear secrets helped launch the Cold War. But they wouldn't be the last. As the decades passed, more nations wanted the same power. Some invested billions into scientific research. Others searched for a faster path. In the 1970s, a Pakistani metallurgist named Abdul Qadir Khan was working in Europe, where he had access to some of the world's most advanced uranium enrichment technology. Unlike Klaus Fuchs, Khan wasn't working inside a secret bomb project. He was working in an industry that handled highly specialized technology that, in the wrong hands, could become the foundation of a nuclear weapons program. What happened next would become one of the most controversial intelligence stories of the 20th century. At first glance, a gas centrifuge doesn't look like a weapon. It doesn't explode. It doesn't fire missiles. It doesn't even make much noise. It's simply a machine that spins at extraordinary speeds. But inside that spinning cylinder is one of the most difficult steps in building nuclear fuel, and potentially, the material needed for a nuclear weapon. Designing a reliable centrifuge took years of research, enormous investment, and some of the world's brightest engineers. That's why the technology itself became so valuable. In the Cold War, information wasn't always a document hidden inside a briefcase. Sometimes, the greatest secret was knowing how to build the machine in the first place. Espionage isn't always carried out by someone wearing a disguise. Sometimes it moves through businesses, shipping companies, factories, and international trade. As investigators later uncovered, Abdul Qadir Khan became the center of a vast procurement and proliferation network. Specialized equipment, technical knowledge, and sensitive technology were transferred across multiple countries, often through complex commercial channels designed to avoid scrutiny. Many of the individual parts appeared completely ordinary. A metal tube, a precision valve, an industrial pump. By themselves, they meant almost nothing. But together, they could help build one of the most powerful technologies on Earth. In the world of intelligence, the smallest piece of a puzzle can become the most valuable secret of all. Every spy has one goal: to remain invisible. Every counterintelligence officer has the opposite mission: to notice what everyone else misses. They don't chase suspects through crowded streets every day. Most of their work is far less dramatic and far more patient. A single phone call, an unexplained meeting, a pattern hidden inside thousands of ordinary events. On their own, these clues may seem meaningless. But piece by piece, a picture begins to emerge. The best investigators understand something every great spy eventually learns. No matter how careful you are, perfection is impossible. Sooner or later, everyone leaves a trace. For years, Klaus Fuchs had lived two lives. To one side, he was a respected physicist trusted with one of the most closely guarded projects in history. To the other, he was secretly providing nuclear information to the Soviet Union. Eventually, the evidence caught up with him. In 1950, after questioning by British investigators, Fuchs confessed to spying. He was convicted and sentenced to prison. His arrest sent shockwaves through Western intelligence agencies. If someone so trusted could betray one of the world's greatest secrets, who else could be hiding in plain sight? The case became a turning point for counterintelligence. It reminded governments around the world that the greatest security threat isn't always outside the fence. Sometimes, it's the person who's already been invited inside. Hollywood loves incredible spy gadgets. Some of them are pure fiction. Others were surprisingly real. Throughout the Cold War, intelligence agencies developed ingenious ways to hide information in everyday objects. Coins could conceal secret compartments. Microfilm allowed entire documents to be reduced to the size of a postage stamp. Miniature cameras captured photographs that would have filled briefcases only a few years earlier. Even an ordinary radio could carry coded messages across continents. But here's the surprising part. None of these tools made someone a great spy. They were only tools. The real advantage was knowing when to use them and when not to. Because in espionage, technology can help. Judgment is what keeps you alive. Imagine trying to pass a secret without ever meeting the person receiving it. No conversation, no handshake, no exchange caught on camera. For decades, intelligence agencies perfected a simple idea. One person would hide an item in a location that appeared completely ordinary. Hours later, or sometimes days later, someone else would quietly retrieve it. The two people might never know each other's names. They might never even see each other's faces. This method became known as a dead drop. It reduced the risk of surveillance and made it far more difficult for investigators to connect one person to another. Sometimes the safest meeting was no meeting at all. Crowds have always been one of a spy's greatest allies. When hundreds of people are moving in different directions, the human brain stops noticing individuals. Everyone becomes part of the background. Intelligence agencies understood this long before modern surveillance cameras existed. A brief touch, a passing shoulder, a folded newspaper changing hands, a train arriving at exactly the right moment. Each action lasts only a second. But if it's carefully planned, that single second is all it takes. This technique became known as a brush pass. To everyone else, it looks like an ordinary accident. To the people involved, the mission is already complete. By the 1980s, the Cold War had become a battle of secrets. And one of America's most trusted intelligence officers was about to become one of its greatest betrayals. Aldrich Ames worked for the CIA. His job gave him access to some of the agency's most sensitive operations, including the identities of Soviet officials secretly working with the United States. In 1985, Ames began spying for the Soviet Union in exchange for money. Over the years, he received millions of dollars. Investigators later concluded that his betrayal exposed numerous intelligence operations and placed many human sources in grave danger. Several Soviet agents who had secretly cooperated with the United States were arrested, and many were executed. He didn't need to steal his way into CIA headquarters. He already belonged there? And once again, history delivered the same unsettling lesson. Sometimes the greatest damage isn't caused by an enemy breaking in. It's caused by someone trusted enough to already have the keys. Today, intelligence agencies have technologies that earlier generations could hardly imagine. Satellites can photograph objects from space. Artificial intelligence can process enormous amounts of data in seconds. Computers can detect patterns that no human could ever notice. But none of these systems can answer one simple question. What is someone thinking? A satellite can show where a missile is hidden. It can't reveal whether a military commander plans to use it. A computer can intercept a message. It can't always explain the intentions behind it. That's why, even in the age of artificial intelligence, human intelligence remains one of the most valuable assets any nation can possess. Because at the heart of every secret, every betrayal, and every act of espionage, there is still a person making a choice. In 1943, British intelligence carried out one of the boldest deception operations in military history. They took the body of a man who had died from natural causes and gave him an entirely new identity. He became Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. His pockets were filled with ordinary details of a believable life, love letters, theater tickets, unpaid bills, and family photographs. Attached to his wrist was a briefcase containing documents that appeared to reveal the Allies' next invasion plan. The plan was a lie. British intelligence hoped the documents would reach Nazi Germany. They did. German leaders, including Adolf Hitler, accepted the deception as genuine and shifted forces in response. When the Allies invaded Sicily in July 1943, they faced less resistance than they might otherwise have encountered. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon in war isn't a bomb. It's a story your enemy believes. During the 1930s, 5 students at the University of Cambridge were secretly recruited by Soviet intelligence. Over the following years, they built successful careers inside some of Britain's most sensitive institutions, including the intelligence services and the Foreign Office. For decades, they quietly passed highly classified information to the Soviet Union. Their betrayal became known as the Cambridge Five. The damage wasn't measured in days or even years. It lasted for decades. Their story shattered one dangerous assumption: that loyalty could be judged by education, social status, or a familiar face. Sometimes the people trusted with a nation's greatest secrets are the last people anyone would suspect. Long before encrypted messaging apps and secure digital networks, there was another way to send secrets across the world. It sounded almost ordinary. A voice, calmly reading endless strings of numbers. To anyone else, the broadcast was meaningless. But to the intended recipient, every number had a purpose. Using a secret decoding key, those random digits could become names, locations, instructions, or warnings. These mysterious broadcasts became known as number stations. For decades, they appeared without explanation, transmitting to listeners hidden somewhere beyond the reach of the public. Even today, some enthusiasts report hearing similar broadcasts on shortwave radio. Who is sending them? And who, if anyone, is still listening? Remains one of the enduring mysteries of the intelligence world. The greatest victories in espionage are rarely celebrated. The greatest failures are often hidden. Most of the invisible war happens without headlines, without applause, without anyone realizing it ever happened. Maybe that's the strangest part. The world around us feels ordinary. People go to work. Planes take off. Scientists make discoveries. Governments make decisions. Life moves forward. But behind some of those ordinary moments, there are quiet choices, hidden conversations, and unseen battles that shape the course of history. So the next time you pass a stranger, or notice two people quietly talking in a crowded place, remember this. You're probably witnessing nothing at all. But then again, history has taught us, you can never be completely sure.